Hello everyone, Ryan here again. So I recently read this book titled Unnaturally Delicious by Jayson Lusk. And I actually won this book in a Goodreads Giveaway. It's actually the first book I've ever won in one of the Goodreads giveaways. And I honestly didn't think I was going to win, but I was pretty surprised by it. And so, although ordinarily it's not usually the kind of book that I go for, not usually the kind of genre that I prefer, but it's still an interesting read nonetheless. The subtitle is actually How Science and Technology Are Serving Up Superfoods to Save the World. And that's definitely a good synopsis of most of the book. I would say I definitely enjoyed the first half of the book, mostly because it primarily deals with the future of bioengineered food and also advancements in different agricultural technologies. And so yeah, I mean, other than that, there's a lot of details, a lot of statistics given that I personally feel that unless you're interested in agriculture, probably have a hard time understanding most of it. I mean, I know I did. Although I mean, I will say I like certain chapters, such as when the author talks about the fact that the differences between bioengineered food and GMOs are not that much. I mean, in other words, bioengineered food and GMOs are not that much different, but at the same time, it's easy to see how some people can assume that one is worse than the other or one is better than the other. And of course, for me, I personally had no idea about it. I mean, I've heard the term GMOs used before, which stands for genetically modified organisms. But I mean, of course, I've read articles before about GMOs and whatnot, but I had really no idea as to what they actually are, or even the process of creating these GMOs. So I like that the author is good at pointing out the differences between each, but also pointing out the fact that they're not that different from each other. So I mean, one example of bioengineered food would be the wheat that we use today, the wheat that is grown today and used to make breads and also a lot of pastas and other foods that require grain. The wheat that we use today is the result of cross-pollination, the result of being bioengineered, and essentially, I believe sometime about 50 to 70 years ago, some scientists, they cross-pollinated two different strains of wheat in order to create the current form of wheat that is able to withstand certain weather patterns and also yield more throughout the year. So I thought that was interesting. I mean, I had no idea about that. And also too, the author mentions the fact that other foods that have been bioengineered, such as rice and sweet potatoes, have been bioengineered so that in order to make them more nutrient rich, in order to ensure that they contain a certain amount of vitamins, and especially when it comes to growing these foods in underdeveloped countries where they don't have access to meat or a lot of other foods with high protein content. And so I like reading about that. And then also too, I like sometime in I believe in the middle chapters, he mentions he talks about 3D printers and how 3D printers are now being used to print food, and Also, though of course right now I guess 3D printers aren't capable of mass producing food, but they are capable of customizing food. In other words, say if somebody has dietary restrictions, they're able to customize, say like a protein bar or a granola bar, and in order to ensure that it has, say like the right kind of vitamins that that person needs, or the right balance of protein and carbs. And so I thought that was cool. And pretty much there are some chefs that are starting to use 3D printers more nowadays, except that they're not able to mass produce food. And that's when they kind of segued into mentioning that sometime in, I don't know, a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago in France, there was this convention, and this guy introduced a prototype of a robot chef. And this robot chef was hooked up to a well-known human chef, and the human chef was then asked to prepare a couple of his well-known dishes, and the robot recorded the human chef's movements, saved it into its database, and then later I was able to call upon these movements and mimic the human chef exactly, and I was able to accurately recreate these dishes that the human chef was well known for preparing. And I guess they even did like a blind taste test, and people couldn't really tell the difference. So that was another cool thing that I like reading about. And it does kind of make you wonder about the fact that there have been a lot of advances in technology when it comes to food and making food more readily available to people. And I like that the author is good at pointing out the fact that like in the 1950s, people really never thought about the fact that that they could just throw their food into a microwave and nuke it for a couple of minutes, and then it would be completely cooked. And of course nowadays microwaves are very commonplace, and so the author is good at pointing that out. And of course he mentions the fact that these robot chefs may seem weird to us now, but who knows what the next couple of decades will bring. Who knows what will happen in the next 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years from now. I mean, you never know. I mean, 3D printers and robot chefs could become commonplace, just like the microwave is today. So, I found that really interesting. And so, in that regard, those are the things that I really liked about this book. The other half of this book, though, unfortunately, is just really heavy on the details, and I don't know. For me, I found it hard to get through, but I did anyways. It was just a lot of numbers, it seemed like, and then also too, I couldn't really tell if the author, Jayson Lusk, really couldn't tell if he was for GMOs, or if he's against GMOs, or I mean, I don't know. I guess it kind of, you could say he's for them, but at the same time he's aware of the unknown dangers of them. I guess I don't know. I couldn't really. In other words, I guess you could say it seemed as though the author is kind of somewhat biased, not completely biased, but definitely somewhat biased. And I guess when it comes to such a subject, it would be hard, not to be a little bit biased. So I don't know. But overall, I mean, it's a pretty interesting read. So, entertaining. At least, definitely the first half I found to be entertaining. So yeah, I give it 4 out of 5 stars. And yeah, I don't know. If you want to read about the future of bioengineered food and GMOs, and especially if you're really interested in agriculture, then I would definitely recommend Unnaturally Delicious. So, there you go. That'll do it for this review. I apologize for the lighting. It's kind of dark right now, but thanks for watching anyways. Also, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I also want to say thanks to everybody who's currently subscribed so far. I definitely appreciate it. So yeah, until next time, keep it real, keep on rocking, peace.